No warp gates prepared yet.
You need to try and pick off the units as. Look at the shields on the mark. That's awesome.
Oh my god, the drone's gonna take this.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is HD.
And this is Pain User.
And we're both back for another series of games here in the IPL. This is going to be between Millennium's LaLuSh and Mao's ThorZaIN. It's going to be a Zerg versus Terran, and LaLuSh is the red Zerg spawning at the top side of Metalopolis, and his opponent, Mao's ThorZaIN, going to be the blue Terran spawning on the bottom.
Yep, this is in Losers Bracket Round 4 of IPL Season 2. ThorZaIN actually lost to Mana in Winners Bracket Round 3, and LaLuSh losing to Select in Winners Bracket Round 2. These are both outstanding players. We are getting deep into the Losers Bracket here, and I am so excited for this ZVT. Oh man, I love watching ThorZaIN CVT, and you know, LaLuSh, one of those players that you know, some people love to root for him, but I'm pulling for ThorZaIN here. Nonetheless, this is going to be a great game. I hope you guys are ready for this.
All right, well, as casters, we are supposed to be unbiased, but since you're rooting for ThorZaIN, Pain User, I'm going to root for LaLuSh.
Well, you do play Zerg.
Yeah.
And I do play
So
Terran.
we're going to have them battle it out on screen and us battle it out in words.
Absolutely.
By the way, guys, if you guys tuned into the broadcast yesterday on Saturday, then you already know that Idra defeated Moonan in the winner's bracket, which means that the winner of this series will go on to play against Moonan in the next round. And whoever loses this, well, unfortunately, they're out of the IPL. So that means that they really got to put in all their work and effort here to survive in the losers bracket. And I always say this, Pain User, it is a grimy pit of hell down here.
Yeah, I know. You always refer to the losers bracket as a place that you do not want to be, and you have a whole gamut of words to describe how nasty and grimy and terrible it is down there. I know as a player, you never want to be down in the losers bracket. You always feel like every game, everything's on the line, and you know, riding that smooth course through the winners bracket is where you always want to be. You're always going to run into great players in the winners bracket, but just staying on top, obviously where you want to be in any tournament. And right now we do have standard openings from both players. ThorZaIN actually not grabbing a gas just yet, so we might see a gasless CC out of him.
Good point right there. Also, you mentioned that, you know, it's nice to be in the winner's bracket. It's also nice because it's like a comfort zone. You don't have to, you know, you feel like, hey, if I lose, I don't have to lose. I'm not knocked out. I get another chance. So it's like you get a lifeline, so to say.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're right. Mao's ThorZaIN here is opening up with the gasless fast expand. The command center going down inside the main. We did have a little bit of a dance right there from LaLuSh and ThorZaIN as LaLuSh is coming in here with the drone. And LaLuSh has also gone for the pretty fast expansion of his own. And, you know, on this map with the cross positions on Metalopolis, would not surprise me to see a fairly long macro game here.
Oh, absolutely. Cross positions on Metalopolis. I can't help but think favor Zerg in this situation. You have those expansions along the outer rim. You're just so far away from the Terran player, and the map really yields itself to the Zerg, setting up large flanks in the middle of the map. Very easy for him to retain control over those Xel'Naga towers. He'll have a fair warning system on any kind of eventual push that ThorZaIN will make. ThorZaIN immediately going up to double gas here, following up that CC, and he's also adding a second Rax just to get a little bit more Marine production to keep himself safe.
Yeah, I think it's nice for him to get these gases early on because he's going to have the option of teching right into tanks. Following these Marines, he can also obviously get the stim and combat shield upgrades relatively quickly as well. He could also open up the Banshee,
and this Ling
and
might sneak in here at it. LaLuSh not watching for a second there. Had an opportunity to sneak that Ling into the main, but he wouldn't really have seen that much. He would have caught the second barracks and perhaps the factory. But we do have ThorZaIN moving out across the map, just applying a little bit of pressure here. He's got 5 Marines, possibly looking to snipe a creep tumor here, but LaLuSh already has those spine crawler ups, and he has a few Zerglings ready and waiting. ThorZaIN wisely pulling back, going to go ahead and take control over that Xel'Naga, and right now he's not trying to accomplish anything in terms of damage. He's just forcing LaLuSh to cross his T's and dot his I's, get those spine crawlers, build a few extra Zerglings. He doesn't want to allow him to just sit back take a quick third, and just drone up.
Yeah, the damage done by moving out with Marines isn't direct damage, it's more indirect damage. Yeah, the Zerg has to, rather than drone up, he has to invest in spine crawlers, he has to invest in Zerglings, and he's unable to get his economy up to a point that he would be more comfortable with. So now LaLuSh, you guys can see, he's building 8 Lings out, he's getting that speed was coming regardless, but he has a lot of Lings here that, otherwise could have been drones. So I actually would argue at this point, since I'm the Zerg, guy here, I would like to see LaLuSh push out with these Lings a little bit and delay the command center from going down.
Yep.
Keep ThorZaIN inside the base and apply some pressure of his own.
Yep. And we do have a blue flame follow-up here from ThorZaIN. I actually thought that's what he was going to go with as opposed to tanks. Blue flame, much more common, and also just based on the distances, tanks really not going to kick in for quite some time. You are going to need those siege tanks later on for a mid to late game push, but here in the early game, just moving his SCVs around there a little bit. But now
they got to the mines, the minerals a little bit quicker than the command center.
Now finally landing that natural command center and really just exploding on economy, dropping several mules at the same time there. And now he has a fairly large group of Hellions here. He's going to move out. Blue Flame is about 80% done. He's going to take control over that Xel'Naga, but we do have some Zerglings flanking on the right side of the map. Going to poke in here, but I don't think they're going to be able to accomplish anything. But the Marines are moving out right as the Zerglings come in.
Yeah, and here comes the Ling Spain user. They may be able to get a couple SCV kills here. The Marines quickly scrambling back home to defend at the natural. The Lings are going to be able to make it out there, and only a couple of Lings going down for an SCV kill, as well as the delay of the Marines moving out. Really nice play. Supply depot and another SCV also gonna go down here. The supply depot in the red will be allowed to burn to death, I would imagine. I don't think ThorZaIN can get an SCV in there in time, and the Lings will finally all go down.
And that is quite a few Blue Flame Hellions we see here out of ThorZaIN, and they will really allow him to retain quite a bit of map control. He's going to be able to clear Zerglings off those Xel'Nagas, and it looks like that's what he's doing right now, just preventing ThorZaIN from having any kind of security. And it looks like we might have a small push here coming from ThorZaIN. He's moving in with these 6 Hellions and a large group of Marines. There's only a few Banelings and some Spine Crawlers coming out of LaLuSh right now, and he's killing all of the creep tumors, which is so helpful for him. He's denying that creep spread, and that's really going to help him later on in this game.
Yeah, but the Roaches are out right now. LaLuSh has the defenses he needs to deal against the Marines and the Hellions. Banelings and Roaches, let me tell you, very, very effective against Marines and against Hellions for obvious reasons. Also, the other thing here is LaLuSh has really not been able to secure his third hatchery, so to say, simply because these Marines and Hellions are able to move around the map, and it's forcing LaLuSh to invest heavily into these forces, and in fact, he has to cancel the hatchery that was going up.
Brilliant
That's
cancel
really
right there. That's a big, big deal. He's able to cancel the third of LaLuSh, slowing him down by quite a bit, and his third command center is actually finished right now at the natural. So ThorZaIN is going to be able to take a significant economic lead here. Whenever you're taking your third well ahead of your Zerg opponent, you are in a great position. So ThorZaIN just doing a great job being pesky with those Hellions, getting damage done when and where he can, not getting over aggressive, not over committing. He only lost maybe 1 or 2 Hellions there. He didn't do too much damage, but they're serving their purpose. He denied the creep spread, he denied the third, and he's setting himself up for a very, very good mid game.
Yeah, absolutely. He has the third expansion now flying over to the mineral line, and it's going to go ahead and be able to land down. But here comes a time for the Zerg to make a counterattack. He has a lot of Lings coming out. Looks like Banelings are going to be able to catch the Hellions, and the Lings are able to surround those Hellions as well. And all the Hellions going down.
Yeah.
And that's huge because now ThorZaIN does not have the forces he needs to control the map. The Lings will be able to move around, and they'll be able to apply some more harassment to this planetary before the planetary actually gets up. And now it's time for LaLuSh to shine. He needs to make something happen. He's behind an economy.
ThorZaIN does have a great position here at the third with these siege tanks. I think he's going to be able to prevent any kind of overt harassment from LaLuSh here. The Mutas could possibly get into the mineral line and do some damage here. There are some turrets going up in the mineral line, though. Will they be up in time? I don't know. The turret's just trying to finish. And those Mutas getting a little bit of harassment in there, going to kill a few SCVs, but They're going to be warded off by those Marines, and just such great positioning and awareness by ThorZaIN right now. He also has a Thor. ThorZaIN always using Thors. He's a
signature unit.
He's a huge proponent of the Thor. He even uses them against Protoss, and has found a way to make that build really work out. LaLuSh trying to find a window of opportunity to do some damage here. He's rotating across from the right-hand side of the map, going to try and work into the natural here, maybe do some damage, but I don't think he really has a window. ThorZaIN has great unit positioning, and he has a great unit composition.
I have to absolutely agree with you. I think LaLuSh was just trying to creak open the window, so to say. There was an opportunity right there for him to maybe get a couple SCVs here or there, but now that the turrets have gone up, he's had to maneuver around the left side of the map. But while doing this, he's expanding behind it. So he's thinking right here, I'm not going to play the short game. I'm not going to play in the mid game. I'm going to try to win in the macro game. And he does have some catching up in that sense, because that third hatchery went down significantly later than the third command center. So right now he's got to get all his drones mining on all 4 bases. He needs to tech up to Hive immediately. Surprising that he doesn't actually have Hive tech quite on the way yet. He may be just saving up his gas for his infestors, and indeed, that's what he's doing. So he's going to have infestors coming out fairly soon.
Yeah, he's also getting those double upgrades going from the evolution chambers, focusing mainly on attack here. So I think we're going to see a primarily Zergling Baneling composition, but ThorZaIN moving out with a very, very powerful push right now. He has a solid amount of siege tanks here, and we do have some Baneling bombs getting into position for LaLuSh right now, but ThorZaIN scanning ahead of his army repeatedly, looking for those. He's 100% on top of it, slowly creeping his tanks across the right side of the map, and he might get himself in position here to possibly elevator into the main or do some significant damage. I don't think LaLuSh has enough to deal with this right now. He is, however, adding infestors, and that's really going to help him out here.
Yeah, the infestors will be able to fungal Marines, so they will not be able to stim and run away from Banelings. But also the other thing here is, as ThorZaIN's pushing up, this is really the location where things get a little scary. As you're pushing up, this is all fine and dandy, but once you get here, it gets scary because the Zerg can flank from the gold expansion and surround your Terran army. So ThorZaIN needs to slowly push up with his tanks. He needs to leapfrog them, but needs to be extra cautious as he approaches this area, especially since there's still creep. You know, it is receding, but there's still creep here, and those Zerg units go very fast on the creep.
I'm actually very surprised that LaLuSh hasn't gone for a counterattack, and here we go. It looks like LaLuSh is actually... No, maybe he's just setting up for a flank here.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to go for a counterattack. Yes, he is going to go for a counterattack, headed towards the natural right now. ThorZaIN going for the main, and yeah, he will try and either swoop around behind ThorZaIN's army, or he will just go for the natural entirely, using that Zerg mobility to its fullest. Gonna go ahead and sneak into the natural here, deny some of these reinforcements. He's gonna kill a siege tank and a few Marines, and this is such a smart move from LaLuSh here. This is exactly what I thought that he needed to do. ThorZaIN gonna go for the main. LaLuSh going for the natural right now. We have a full-on base race here. Who's gonna come out ahead?
Well, the problem here is I think Zerg units in general, just by principle, are a lot softer and weaker than Terran units. So I honestly feel like ThorZaIN may have more firepower if they decide to go for the base race. You guys can see the Zerg units here at the main and natural of ThorZaIN. They are doing significant damage. They're cutting off reinforcements, but all the while, so is ThorZaIN. He's attacked the macro hatch, he's taken it down, and he's continuing to push up into the natural expansion. And I honestly feel like in the long run, ThorZaIN may be able to come out ahead, but we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in terms of supply right now, it is almost even, but ThorZaIN has a much bigger army right now. He is just going to roll straight through the natural here, right into the main. There's absolutely nothing LaLuSh can do about it. LaLuSh only having a handful of roaches, a couple mutas, some lings here and there, but he doesn't really have that substantial force that he needs to deal with ThorZaIN's army. Yes, ThorZaIN is behind on supply, but keep in mind that's mostly workers. As far as the army is concerned, ThorZaIN has a very, very powerful force right now, and once he kills the Hive and all of the production buildings, well, not production buildings, but buildings that allow you to produce units for LaLuSh. LaLuSh isn't going to be able to resupply.
Yeah, you mean the Banelings that's the spawning,
yeah,
the Spire, all that
absolutely.
stuff? And hey, speaking of which, they're right back here. And you know, when you're attacking a Zerg and you're base trading with him, I would almost argue the high priority stuff to go after are the Baneling's Nest, the Mutalisk, the Spire. All those things are extremely important. So it looks like ThorZaIN will eventually reach in there and he will be able to take them down. That's great. Now the Zerg will not be able to reinforce his forces. And we do also have the floating city in the clouds.
Oh, I
looks
love
like ThorZaIN
this.
has relocated his entire metropolitan area.
Lando's Calrissian Sky Palace.
Yes. He has relocated everything over to the third expansion, the tertiary, and that's great for him because look, these buildings provide almost like a natural defense, a
he has
barrier.
a very defensible position there.
And it's going to be hard for LaLuSh to hit
He has
that.
the planetary, he has a siege tank, he has a few marines scattered intermittently around the base, but now pushing back towards the third, I really don't see how LaLuSh is going to be able to deal with this army of ThorZaIN. It is just so powerful. He has marines, medevacs, tanks, and Thors, and that is the primary composition that you want against Zerg. And right now, LaLuSh trying to get enough Mutalisks to perhaps kill off the marines and then magic box the Thors. And there is still a possibility for that. Keep in mind, ThorZaIN does not have that much anti-air right now. He only has a handful of marines, and he has this one Thor, so he's going to have to be very, very careful about how he pushes on this base.
Yeah, and LaLuSh, meanwhile, will have to figure out when the best time to attack is, because if this hatchery goes down, I would argue he's out of the game. So he has to make sure this hatchery does not go down, and that time to save the hatchery is quickly closing in, because the tanks and the marines, they're getting ever more and more closer to this hatchery. And I think what ThorZaIN, or what LaLuSh is going to want to do here is
going for another counter
or attack that location.
I think he's going for another counter. He's headed straight to the third of ThorZaIN. He's going to give up this hatchery. I don't know if that's what he wants to do right now. I think crushing ThorZaIN's army and saving that base is the most important thing for him right now. And he's going to get delayed at the gold here by going for this command center. This command center is actually buying ThorZaIN quite a bit of time. And LaLuSh, not able to make up his mind, is actually headed back right now to try and deal with the forces of ThorZaIN. Meanwhile, ThorZaIN continuing to add units back at the third, and that position at the third is almost impenetrable. There are so many buildings right there for ThorZaIN, and he is just completely fortified. He has an orbital, he has a planetary. There's no way LaLuSh is going to be able to bust that. So...
And you know what? I think he is actually going to try to bust it. Oh, no, dude. If he tries to attack, this is going to be like D-Day in Normandy, man. This is just going to be disastrous. I don't see him being successful if I mean, look at this. If he hits this location, his forces have to split apart. They have to go around the barracks. Then they have to deal with the first layer of defense, the Marines. Then the second layer, the tanks. Then finally, the planetary fortress. I don't think LaLuSh can do it, and I think he may have to defend this hatchery here. And the sad thing here is LaLuSh only has a spire and a spawning pool, and they are going to start to bleed to death because they do not have the creep feeding the nutrients that the buildings need to survive.
And here we go, both players setting up for that eventual final conflict. This is such a close game. If LaLuSh is able to crush this army, he might be in a position where he can come back and salvage this game. But he needs to be ever so careful about how he approaches this next fight. His Mutalisks, really his major advantage right now.
Oh, no.
Every Marine counts.
Yes.
He needs to be so careful with these Marines.
No.
Every Marine he loses gives the potential for LaLuSh to just run his army over with those Mutalisks. Right now, however, ThorZaIN building up an army back at home. He has 1,000 minerals, 2.5k gas banked, and he is starting a trust fund over here. He might be able to just continually reinforce, but it looks like LaLuSh might be setting up for another counterattack here.
Yeah, LaLuSh here was thinking, hey, maybe I can take out this army. He was able to kill off a bunch of those Marines, and you were saying those Marines are very, very valuable, but so are these tanks here. ThorZaIN, let me tell you right now, those Marines that are off on the side, they're important because that's the offensive force, but these are the defensive forces. ThorZaIN has to manage and control both armies at the same time. So does LaLuSh. He cannot allow his Mutalisks to go down. Oh my god, LaLuSh is losing all of his Mutalisks. Oh, that was such a blunder right there.
Yeah, that was terrible.
LaLuSh
just not watching for a second, and he's actually going to recommit here. Not able to get any fungal growths off on the Marines. ThorZaIN doing a great job pulling the Marines back, and the tanks just shelling away. And now he's also killing LaLuSh's last remaining mining expansions. But the mutas from LaLuSh are going to be able to float through the base here, take out all of the tanks, Does ThorZaIN have enough anti-air to stay
don't know,
alive?
man.
I don't think he does.
Well, he has 3 missile turrets in the background right now. Those SCVs can, of course, infinitely repair them, and it looks like the Marines coming out of the Sim City here. All those barracks are able to repel the Mutalisks. Even a Queen in the offense right here trying to
How
save
did she get in there?
I don't know, man. She just comes out of nowhere, and I think ThorZaIN, I think he's gonna take this game, man.
This is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
This is such a good game. This is coming down to the wire right here. Both players on their last leg, working off of one base. LaLuSh only has a few hatcheries remaining. He's just scattered hatcheries around the map at whatever base that he can take. But he's distance mining, and he only has this one army remaining. He has 2 infestors, a handful of roaches, and just this remaining flock of Mutalisks to try and win this game. But ThorZaIN still has the majority of his army. It doesn't matter unless he gets these Marines.
He gets him off on a ton of the Marines. And actually, that's huge because ThorZaIN now doesn't really have that much anti-air. In fact, 3 more Marines going down now. The only anti-air in this army is the Thor. And if LaLuSh can take out all the tanks on the ground,
here we go. LaLuSh coming in with everything. Fungal goes off on the tanks. The Thors and the Marines working on the Mutalisks, and reinforcement Marines come in from behind for ThorZaIN. And that is going to do it, folks. I think ThorZaIN has finally secured the gold base. Once he's able to land that, first he needs to scan and get rid of that pesky roach that's been blocking him all game. There we go. Finally, that roach gets taken out. Now ThorZaIN can establish his position at the gold, and I think he is fully back in this game, fully operational. LaLuSh virtually not mining anywhere. He's just trying to do anything he can at this point, but I think it's a foregone conclusion.
And
LaLuSh has left the game. No GG.
Oh my god.
Left the game.
A game of StarCraft 2.
If anything, that is a game where GG is almost required. That was an amazing game. Well, LaLuSh, it's a sign of respect. That's a great game. You should drop the GG there.
Yeah, he should.
LaLuSh, one of those controversial players, but wow, so amazing. Both players played phenomenally. Unbelievable
I know,
game.
dude. My eyes literally were about to pop out of my head. I was watching that game. It was one of the most incredible displays of StarCraft 2 I've ever seen. Man.
Yeah, that really just came down to the wire.
How often do you see a game where both players are down and out, they've had to relocate their mains, and they've just got armies moving around the map, trying to do whatever damage they can do, continually fighting all over the map, just trying to eke out whatever advantages they can. And I also have to say, I really feel like LaLuSh had that game if he hadn't thrown away half of his Mutalisks.
I think LaLuSh made one critical mistake, and it's when he headed back for the third of ThorZaIN, tried to do that counterattack as opposed to crushing ThorZaIN's forward force. ThorZaIN had that forward force with all of the siege tanks, 1 Thor, and only a handful of Marines. LaLuSh, on the other hand, had a ton of Mutalisks. He had an opportunity right there to take out all of those tanks, but he tried to go for the counterattack, but ThorZaIN, with that beautiful defensive position at the third, was able to shut that down.
Calrissians,
right?
Cloud
You
City.
like that?
I love it,
you
man.
like that?
Dude, I love the Star Wars quotes,
Sky
man.
City right there.
Never get old.
I'll come with those all day. I'll come with those all day.
No, I hear you on that, though. I think if he had attacked that forward position, rather than pulling his forces out, he would have had a good shot. And I also feel like losing those Mutalisks at that 6 o'clock natural was disastrous.
General Calrissian, our Star Destroyers can't repel firepower of that magnitude. It's a trap! And that's exactly what ThorZaIN did. He set up a trap, LaLuSh fell into it, and ThorZaIN is going to go ahead and take game 1. Man, I don't even know what to say. I'm done with post-game analysis. We will be coming right back at you guys with game 2.
Yeah, don't go anywhere, guys. Game 2 between LaLuSh and ThorZaIN in the losers bracket coming up next.